During the administration of President John Evans Atta Mills, some review of the country's 1992 constitution was understood to have been made. Judging from the recent calls for a review of the same 1992 constitution, concludes just one thing, that the efforts put in could not meet the expectation of society. Today on Legal Agenda, we will delve deep into the Constitution and some of the reviews that needs to be made to meet the expectation of this society that we all find ourselves in. So I have with me here Lawyer Martin Kpebu to help us discuss this. Lawyer Martin, is there a reason why the 1992 Constitution should be reviewed?
Oh, 1,001 reasons, I tell you. And I'm sure by now you are well aware that the whole of our political landscape is awash with the million calls for it to be reviewed. And true, the reason we must do it, or even let's say one of the reasons, is that the Constitution is lopsided. We've concentrated too much power in the executive. That's a big flaw. Look, we have 1,001 African proverbs that will tell you that one man alone, that is not a repository of all knowledge. Yet, you see the Constitution vesting executive power in the president. And that's huge. So somebody will say, yes, in the Constitution, you'll find that for some of the things, there's a Council of State to advise, okay, etc. But that's not sufficient. The practice is shown that Council of State advising the president is not mandatory. The president can refuse, except in the case of when it comes to judicial appointments that the Bar Association went to court and they say, well, if the Judicial Council presents a list of judges in a certain order, the president cannot skip number 1 and go for number 3 on the list. Yeah, except that generally the president is not bound by the advice he receives from Council of State or other councils like Judicial Council and the rest. So the Constitution, that's its biggest problem. So we are talking about Article 58.
Okay, so specifically, that's the only area you think it should be reviewed?
Oh, no, okay. Okay, so we can list them and then we'll see how many we can explain within the time. So apart from the executive power being too much, that's in ordinary English, is too concentrated in one person, you also have the issue of, so it's even, that is the main point that we can divide into so many subsets.
Okay.
So when I say it's too much, and so we should divide it. So number 1, the president should not be appointing the Chief Justice and other Supreme Court justices. Because under the Constitution, he does, right?
Yes.
With the prior approval of Parliament. We want that done away with. 2, the president should not be appointing the Electoral Commissioner. No. He should have no hands at all so that the Electoral Commission will truly be independent. You know, the EC is the heartbeat of the elections.
Exactly.
So an EC that has all the appointments made by the president is not really independent because you'll find some people who would want to show him gratitude and so may bend some rules here and there. Like, remember the way, so we are listing the things, so maybe we'll explain later.
But back to that, so are you saying that the Electoral Commission, they are not being independent or what? Because they are being appointed by the president.
Obviously, this EC is not that really independent. It's not really independent. The EC is being stacked with party foot soldiers, Dr. Apia Hine, Salima Mohammed, the last batch of cohorts of appointees. Obviously, political, foot soldiers and party apparatchiki. The EC has been tainted beyond repair. So you see that Kodeyo has called on those members to resign themselves because, and I support the call, they called on the president to revoke the appointment. He didn't. And so he went ahead to swear them into office. Now Kodeyo is saying those appointees themselves should resign because you are allowed to resign. Then that one is easier. Yeah, so we mentioned that the EC, the power to appoint EC, the commissioners should be taken from the president, Bank of Ghana, all the independent constitutional bodies. There are 7 of them. We don't want the president to continue to appoint because the executive power is too much. Okay. So you are talking about you look at the Bank of Ghana, as I've mentioned, Auditor General. The president should not appoint the Auditor General.
Because they do so much.
Excellent.
Their activities affect the society so much. So if their work is being interfered by, but I mean, do you have evidence to back your claims? Because really,
1,001 evidence again.
Okay.
You remember how the president shamefully sent away Dom Levo? The Auditor General said he should go, he sent him away to go on a leave for 120 days or so, right? Yeah, that was shameful. It was clear that it was illegal, but the president insisted on doing it. Then I sued for the CDD, the Center for Democratic Development, and the 9 other CSOs, Ghana Integrity
But
Initiative.
if he has the right to appoint, can't he also have the right to fire?
No,
terminate you.
No. So under the Constitution, under Article 146, that's one of the things that we've done. So those appointees get a bit of independence, but it's not sufficient. So the president can't just fire the EC or just fire the Auditor General. No, we call, to be able to fire those people, there has to be some findings of a committee that they've done wrong. And that's what we call the Article 146 proceedings.
Okay.
But we are saying the firing, he may not fire you, but he will take some other steps that can render you useless. Take the Dom Levo example. Dom Levo was about catching the president and Osafo Mafu for their role in the Kroll and Associates case. The one that Dom Levo said Kroll and Associates didn't do any work and they were paid over $1 million. So he was investigating it. The president saw there would be trouble, and the president asked Dom Levo to go on leave over 120 days, right? So, as I mentioned, CDD and other CSOs came to me and went to the Supreme Court. And after 2 years, the Supreme Court ruled that what the president did was illegal. But the president had succeeded in doing what he wanted to do.
And
he wanted space to cover the debt, to clean the debt. He had cleaned the debt. So
and you cannot correct all these things. So that's why you are of the view that the executive powers should be reviewed.
Absolutely. I'm not the only one. You see, even so many people, constitutional lawyers, Professor Tuguba, Abuchi, almost every person that's in this space agrees that this constitution needs a good review. Some will say a total overhaul. Whichever one, there is a problem. We need to cut back on the powers we're giving.
But you were listing the areas that needs to be. So you've mentioned the Auditor General. I think you mentioned.
I mentioned EC. So we are saying that the president shouldn't appoint the following persons: EC, Auditor General, Chief Justice, and the other justices of the Supreme Court, right? Lands Commission, Bank of Ghana, Shraj. You see, all these persons, there are seven independent constitutional bodies in the Constitution. Those are the ones I try to list. Let's take that power away. Let the president concentrate on development. That's, he's building schools, he's building roads, yes. But these 7 institutional, independent constitutional...
should not be done by them.
Yes, so that they will be stronger.
They should be elected.
Yes, we can have the election, yes, okay. And citizens participate. Yeah. We should do that. We should do that so that we can have truly independent constitutional bodies.
Visit www.GhanaWebExcellenceAwards.com and click Nominations bar or click the Nominations banner on www.GhanaWeb.com. Provide your personal details by entering your first and last names. Fill in your contact details, that is, phone number and email address. Select the appropriate category out of 17 options for your nominee. Provide the personal details of your nominee. Provide at least 1 or more social handles of your nominee. Tell us why she qualifies for the selected category and then proceed. You receive a pop-up with, would you like to make another nomination? If yes, click yes and go through the same process of nominating another woman. If no, click no and you are done nominating your nominee.
Everyone needs the perfect snack to munch on during a fun moment.
Wow.
Enjoy the tasty McBerry Twist cupcakes, deliciously baked and packaged for a sweet treat. Premium quality cakes baked with love for all, enriched in butter and milk.
Yummy.
McBerry Twist cupcakes, simply irresistible. Try one today. This advert is FDA approved.
But looking at the immunity the president and the other parliamentarians enjoy, do you think we also have to review that, or that should just fly?
I agree. So that will come back to how I was trying to list all the things we want. So the immunity is one of those things I mentioned the last time. I'm interested in that. We'll review Article 57 to reduce the immunities of the president. Then let me list a few of them, then we'll come and develop. Then also we want the election of the MMDCs, right?
Yeah.
So that the MMDCs will be truly accountable to the citizenry at the local level to strengthen local governance. Right now, it's the president who appoints, so there's no true accountability, right? Yes, we want those things done. So, and then fiscal discipline, we think we should strengthen the constitution, put in more clauses that will give Parliament more power of oversight over the purse. Right now, as it stands, you see that sometimes they pass a budget, but the executive go and they overspend and come back, and then Parliament is forced to just ratify. We put provisions that will make it in such a way that it will be difficult for the executive to overspend. So to recap, cutting down the executive power by taking away the 7 appointments of the 7 independent constitutional bodies away from the president, right? We're talking about cutting down also on the immunity. The immunity is too broad. We are talking about the election of MMDCs. Then also you are talking about strengthening the oversight of Parliament over the public purse, putting more provisions to make Parliament more in control, rather than Parliament just
So are you saying that currently Parliament is not, they don't have so much control over some of the things they do?
Oh, absolutely. That's obvious. And Parliament themselves, they admit it. Parliament is the weakest link in our governance architecture in terms of the 3 arms of government.
But in recent past, people were rather complaining about the judiciary.
Oh, so, yes, the judiciary people always complain. I know, but by and large, the judiciary is stronger than Parliament. Okay. Yes, by and large, the judiciary is stronger than Parliament. Parliament is the weakest. They know it. There isn't much of an argument. Yes, it's the executive that's the most powerful, because in practice, they control the money and they control the security forces. So you see the military, the police, immigration, all those, they are under the control of the president. So he has more power. So he has the power of the purse, he has the power of the gun. That's what makes him more powerful. Then the next is the judiciary. Parliament is bottom 3. That's the last. Yes, so we want to strengthen Parliament. And so one of the ways of strengthening Parliament, which we also want as a way of amendment, is that parliamentarians should not be appointed ministers. So listen, have the constitution also amend the Article 75, so that parliamentarians should no longer, there's a majority of the MPs should not be
ministers of state.
Yes, majority of the ministers should not be MPs, because with that, you weaken Parliament excessively, because the man is a minister, and then he has the opportunity to sign contracts and make big money. You think when the president proposes some other things that will favor the president, you think that minister will turn against the president? The moment he turns against the president, he'll be fired. Yes. So it's like, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. Yeah.
But these ministers are vetted by the parliamentarians.
Oh, but it's just vetting. That's just vetting. Talk is cheap.
So, meaning that the vetting doesn't really hold water?
Not much. Talk is cheap. It's when you have to walk your talk, then you know the real business at hand.
So, if I understand you right, we should take all these powers from the president, from the executive, and give it to him.
Yeah, so that's what I said. We'll disperse them. So a lot of them will want citizens to participate in voting for them. So this is how we will do it. So let's start the independent constitutional bodies. What you expect is that if there's an EC to be appointed, let citizens apply. So when they apply, then of course there'll be set criteria. So the Public Services Commission, they are also part of the independent constitutional bodies. Yes. So the Public Services Commission, and this time we want the composition be reconstituted in a way to allow many civil society organizations to be part of the Public Services Commission. So that commission will sieve the applicants.
Okay.
Then the number that are deemed to be qualified, there will be a public interview. So they'll be interviewed in public. So radio, like you're doing now, TV, let all of them speak. They will ask, so they bring experts to help interview them. So when we are done with the interview, then the first 3 will be selected.
Okay.
Then now we subject those people to a vote.
Okay.
Yes, citizens be allowed to vote online or other forms of voting, so that we can reduce the cost. But the main thing that citizens have, a lot of the power has to be returned to citizens. Our politicians are the worst citizens now. They are the weakest link in our democracy because they've turned out to be bad boys and girls. That's why we are retrogressing. Yes. So we need to find a way. Bad boys
and girls.
Yeah, the politicians, they are bad boys and girls. They have messed us up. So we need to review this.
So we have to take the power back to the people.
Perfect. That's the whole thing. Yes.
But talking about immunity the president enjoys, I know the president cannot be sued directly. Do you think we have to review that too? Because in recent past, he made some comments about the chief case in case and all that.
Perfect. So that he'll be hauled before the court, where the court before which the case is. That's if it's a superior court, high court, court of appeal, supreme court. The president should be hauled before it for making comments that are prejudicial or are contemptuous. That is good. So it means that the immunity should be limited to the president's functions alone. Not the whole, all of his activities, whether personal or official. No. Currently, the way it's been couched in Article 57 is for everything he does, whether personal or functional, relating to his office. So we need to cut it down and reduce it to only his office. And there are 3 or 4 Supreme Court decisions where you see them making, the judges articulating that view. That look, the immunities are not there to be used for personal aggrandizement. No, it's for enhancing the work. So when you find a president going to climb a political platform and spew contemptuous statements here and there, he should be hauled before the court. Yes, if we don't do that, we can't develop much. We should stop deferring to people in authority too much.
Okay. But in your submissions, finally, in your submissions, I know you mentioned that the positions, the 7 roles, are done by the president and the Council of State. But is and you also mentioned that the president is really not mandated in some of the decisions to listen or take the advice of the Council of State. So if that is the case, then what is their role? Are we not just wasting taxpayers' money?
Say that again. So that is the point. So we've said it ad nauseum that the Council of State is not strong enough because, you see, and not being strong enough, the first thing is that the advice is not binding on the president. So that in itself,
if it's not binding, so then what is their role?
So it's persuasive, and that's not good. So we shouldn't be spending so much time and other resources on people to give persuasive advice. It must be mandatory advice. You see, so this Council of State, and we've had a debate several times on various platforms. We see that no, the Council of State is virtually outlived its usefulness. Yeah, it was done in a way, let's not forget that, even though people are denying it, but you can't walk away from the fact that this constitution was structured in a way to please this ex-president Rawlings so that he will make our return to democracy easier. That was the whole thing. So that ex-president Rawlings will make our return to democracy easier. But now that he's exited, more than 20 years after his exit, we have no business continuing to
Okay, so that was the reason why.
Yes,
okay.
But don't take, some people are denying it, but largely we all believe the constitution is the way it is because they were trying to please ex-president Rawlings to make it easier for us to come to return to democratic rule.
Okay. So far we've been concentrating on the executive powers, but I know also that parliamentarians enjoy some form of immunities by not serving them letters, court letters, powers from court and powers from parliament or going to parliament. Do we have to review that too?
Yes,
because sometimes they do some of these things and so that you could clearly see that, I mean, they have to receive these letters, these court letters, and because of this immunity, the other party is frustrated. They cannot serve them.
Yes. Good. You are right. That one too will need review. That one we need review, except that in reviewing it to make it easier for them to be served. One of the things we should guard jealously is that as for arresting them, we should be slow to make it easier for arrest. Otherwise, the way we are still very crude in this part of the world, an executive president can use the police to cause arrests of parliamentarians unnecessarily. So please, as for arrest, let's guard it jealously. In actual fact, when it's time for review, I will support a call for it to be made more difficult to arrest a parliamentarian.
Okay.
Because, yeah, you look at it, in 2023, see some of the very, openly crude political games both parties are playing. It's not good. So it tells you that it could get worse.
It will get worse.
So let's tighten the rules.
With the kind of political system we have here in the country.
Excellent. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible.
I hope we've learned so much today on Legal Agenda. Thank you, Lawyer Martin Kpebu.
You're welcome, Matilda.
The conversation on review of the 1992 Constitution will definitely continue. Stick and stay with me. This has been Legal Agenda, and my name is Matilda Boateng Nartey.